I'm going to start with the environmental impact. The production of animal products leads to greenhouse gas emissions. I'm sure you've heard of the greenhouse effect, which is the exchange of radiation in the atmosphere to sustain the Earth's temperature and allow for life on Earth. Meat and dairy products are the foods carrying the greatest environmental burden, accounting for approximately half of food-generated GHG emissions and 18% of global GHG emissions. Demand for meat and milk is set to double by 2050. Cows release the greenhouse gas methane into the air because of their ruminant digestive system. The rising demand for meat causes a higher emission of GHG, which should cause a dangerous level of climate change. A global temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels affects the chance of dangerous climate change. To keep below this potentially dangerous tipping point, global GHG emissions needs to be decreased by at least 50%. Next, deforestation. Farm animals raised for their meat, eggs, and milk already cover 1/3 of the planet's total surface area and use more than 2/3 of its agricultural land. Farm animals are a major cause of deforestation because forests are cut down to make room for grazing animals and to plant animal feed, which is another cause of deforestation. Intensive livestock farms grow large number of animals and feed them a high-protein diet consisting mostly of soy and corn. More than 50% of the corn and at least 80% of the soy grown worldwide is fed to farm animals, and this number will only increase. Deforestation causes the loss of biodiversity. By cutting down trees, we are destroying ecosystems. Water pollution. Nutrients from livestock and poultry manure are key sources of water pollution caused by increasing numbers of livestock per farm and per acre. Irrigating feed crops alone uses 7% of the global water use. Animals use extensive livestock systems use more water per animal. Lastly, the livestock industry affects water quality through the release of nutrients, pathogens, and other substances into waterways, mainly from intensive livestock operations. Dead zones. Nutrients and manure run off the land or are piped as wastewater into rivers and coasts and can stimulate an overgrowth of algae, which then sinks and decomposes in the water. The decomposition process consumes oxygen and depletes the supply available to healthy marine life. This diagram shows the impacts of climate change on human health. First, rising temperatures cause extreme heat, which can affect heat-related illness and death and cardiovascular failure. Severe weather can cause injuries, fatalities, and other mental health impacts. More extreme weather causes air pollution, which can affect asthma and cardiovascular disease. Changes in vector ecology can cause all sorts of different diseases. Rising sea level affects allergens, which can cause respiratory allergies and asthma. It also, rising sea levels also have an effect on our water quality. Last, increasing CO2 levels affect water and food supply, so that can cause malnutrition and diarrheal disease. And lastly, environmental degradation, which can cause forced migration, civil conflict, and mental health impacts. Now I'm going to talk about the other human impacts. Meat can be a good source of protein and other essential nutrients, but most Americans eat more than 1.5 times the average daily protein requirement and consume more than the recommended amount of food. It is shown that excess meat consumption, specifically in red and processed meat, is correlated with heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity, certain cancers, and premature death. World hunger. Amount of grain required to produce a pound of human flesh from meat is much greater than the amount of grain required if eaten directly. Uneven distribution is causing hunger all over the world. The vegetarian diet feeds 10 billion. The Mediterranean diet feeds 5 billion, and the North American diet feeds only 2.5 billion. Therefore, if everyone goes flexitarian, we can feed a lot more people. Bioaccumulation. Pesticides used in agriculture expose livestock through contaminated feed, fields, and agents used to control insect pests that plague food animals. Pesticide residue can build up in meat, poultry, and dairy products and be consumed by humans. Feed additives. The feed given to industrial raised livestock is specifically formulated to maximize production at the lowest possible cost. These feeds may contain antibiotics, arsenical drugs, rendered animal carcasses, and other ingredients that may lead to the introduction of harmful contaminants in our food supply. Ingestion of antibiotics results in the development of resistance in bacteria such as E. coli and Salmonella. October 4th through December 4th, 2018, JBS Tolleson Incorporated recalled a total of approximately 12.1 million pounds of beef products that may be contaminated with Salmonella. Lastly, water quality. As I previously discussed, water pollution is a problem. It can get in our water supply through runoff and irrigation and cause serious health effects if ingested.